One of the methods of learning is being efficient. What is that? Is when you do mudhakara, when you literally do revision and you're revising something, you're looking into something which you've already done so before, you go through it quickly so you can catch up with the rest of what you have. That's one of the problems that students of knowledge have today. And not only that, many of us, which is called السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Inshallah ta'ala, today in this class we're going to look into the alamatul khafd, the alamat of khafd. Remember, we've covered up to now even the alamat of an-nasb, and what we are trying to do is to provide an ijaz, basically a concise explanation of Al-Ājrūmiyyah for that which you and I can relate to. This is not an in-depth explanation of Al-Ājrūmiyyah. For example, as in At-Tuhfatu As-Saniyya li Muhammad Muhyiddin rahimahullah ta'ala, his sharh, you look into that, you realize it's well explained. But if we literally explain everything that's in the sharh, you end up finding, let alone the classes being long, and it gets quite complicated, especially for beginner students who have just maybe embarked on the Arabic journey, or they haven't literally looked into the Arabic language at all. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to show appreciation to the grammar of Arabic, especially of the early texts provided, so that we can see the connection between grammar and Arabic as a language and how we need it in order to not just understand the Quran, but also other texts that we read on a day-to-day basis, even if it's a story text. Bear that in mind. So we're going to read what the Musannif Ibn Ājurrūm, what he says first, and then we're going to get into the sharh بإذن الله الكريم. قال المصنف رحمه الله تعالى: وللخفض ثلاث علامات: الكسرة والياء والفتحة. فأما الكسرة فتكون علامة للخفض في ثلاثة مواضع: في الاسم المفرد المنصرف، وجمع التكسير المنصرف، وجمع المؤنث السالم. وأما الياء فتكون علامة للخفض في ثلاثة مواضع: في الأسماء الخمسة، وفي التثنية والجمع. وأما الفتحة فتكون علامة في الاسم الذي لا ينصرف. نعم, that is very clear. It's very simple, very straightforward to show that the signs of al-khafd, which is the signs of the Jarr itself, the Kasrah sign mainly, there are three. And let's get into that inshaAllah ta'ala. If you look at the notes that we have prepared, you notice that alamatul Jarr, what I've tried to do, and as inspired by Sharh At-Tuhfatu As-Saniyya, نفعنا الله بصاحب الشرح وبعلومه في الدارين آمين يا رب العالمين. You notice that the signs of the Jarr agent, because he came up with mushajjarat. Mushajjarat is to provide you with those trees that literally follow each other, such as this. It's like a chart. Now you follow, this goes like this, then this follows along like that. Alamatul Jarr, the signs of the Jarr: al-kasrah, al-ya'u, al-fatḥah. i'lam, bear this in mind, don't forget that as we are speaking about the Jarr, we always said that when we talk about i'rab specifically in the grammar, what are we referring to? We are referring to the signs that we see at the end of the words, isn't it? The signs at the end of the word. تغيير أواخر الكلمة لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها لفظا أو تقديرا, which is the ta'rif, the definition of i'rab. What is i'rab and what's the main focus of grammar? Because the heart of grammar is there. The moment the i'rab chapter starts, that's when grammar begins particularly. But Ibn Ājurrūm cannot come with just that without introducing the basics of Arabic itself, such as understanding kalimat and wa aqsamul kalimah. And on top of that, what are the alamat of each aqsam and beyond that. So when you cover that bit and you understand, okay, first I learned the vocabulary of the language itself, and then how do I use that? So one science or one strand of the entire Arabic language of what you look into is grammar, and that's what he focused on, telling us, okay, now the focus is on Arabic grammar itself. So when you look at what we are doing, you notice that we're dealing with the ending of words. Don't forget that concept, inshallah ta'ala. Al-kasratu, al-ya'u, al-fatḥah. These are the three alamat of al-jarr. These are the three alamat of al-jarr. And then he says, فالكسرة علامة للجر في. The kasrah is the alama, the sign of the jar, basically the kasrah itself, the khafd, which is one of the i'rab inflection types. في الاسم المنفرد في الاسم المفرد المنصرف في الاسم المفرد المنصرف. Now notice this. If you go back to the previous classes, listen carefully. If you go back to the previous classes, when we said the single form noun, we did not add the word al-munsarif. We did not add the word al-munsarif. I'm going to zoom it in so you can see properly. Look, we did not add this word al-munsarif. What's the reason behind it? Why did we not add it? Because there's a specific topic that you need to cover after understanding the signs of the khafd, which that topic, Ibn Ajurrūm, obviously he did not explain it. Like in the shuruhat, if you read Sharh al-Kafrawi and even more, they break this down, which is ما هي الأسماء التي لا تنصرف. What are the types of nouns which do not accept complete change? لا تنصرف إلى حال إلى علامة الخفض الأصلية. It does not go to the originals, accept the original sign of the khafd. Why doesn't it do so? What type of words are these? Now the question is, you might be wondering, is this a pattern? There is a pattern that you can follow. There are the shurut and the anwa' that you can see. But one thing that you have to realize is that هكذا تكلم العرب. That's exactly how the Arabs spoke. That's exactly how the Arabs spoke. So it's not upon us. It's the Arab's way of speaking. It's a language. Bear that in mind. So a language is mainly memorized. Don't forget that. تحفظ اللغة أولا. You memorize the language, then you look at what the language provides. ولغتنا العربية. Our language is Arabic. ولقد نعلم أنهم يقولون إنما يعلمه بشر. لسان الذي يلحدون إليه أعجمي وهذا لسان عربي مبين. This is the tongue of a clear Arab. Bear that in mind. Manifest, literally plain, in the plain, open. What is it? It's the tongue of the Arab. It's Arabic that Allah revealed the Quran upon, and the entire deen is preserved upon Arabic. Even though we now have, English has become more or less like our native language, especially in the West. And if you go around the Al-Ālam, around the world, you notice that people speak English maybe as their second language for some. But what you realize, even if a lot of the works have been translated in English, but it does not mean that we park aside the Arabic language. We cannot do that. Otherwise, it will be extremely difficult to have access and connection to the deen itself. And not only that, to everything else that relates to our identity. You want to lose your identity? Forget about Arabic. It's easy to do that. Trust me. Because no lugha can translate Arabic in itself. And our identity is the lugha that Allah bought the entire deen with, which is the Arabic language. Understood? فالاسم المفرد المنصرف. اسم المفرد المنصرف. This is one specific type of noun. Even if it's single form or any other form that we're going to look into, you realize that it's specifically for this part of the inflections, for this type of inflections, which is the khafd itself. So not just al-ism al-mufrad al-mutlaq, every single type of single form noun. No, there are specific nouns, single form or not single form, might be plural form, which are actually plural form. These nouns, they do not accept the main sign of the what? Of the khafd itself. And as you can see, the first one is al-ism al-mufrad al-munsarif. Second of all is jam'u al-taksir al-munsarif. جمع التكسير المنصرف, the broken plural noun which is المنصرف. جمع المؤنث السالم, جمع المؤنث السالم, the feminine plural noun. Now al-kasrah, it works for the type of noun single form which accept the kasrah, and the broken plural nouns which accept the kasrah, and the feminine plural noun which definitely obviously accepts the kasrah without a doubt. But for the other two, which mean that they are exceptions. Okay, they are exceptions. In this case, the first sign, al-ism al-mufrad al-munsarif, is that which accepts the kasrah. When you hear غير المنصرف, it does not accept a kasrah. It doesn't accept a kasrah. Let's go further. الياء. The ya is علامة للجر. علامة للجر is the sign of the jar في in the following types of words. التثنية, the dual form. الأسماء الخمسة, the five particular nouns that we've mentioned. أبو, حمو, أخو, and فو, ذو, مال. We mentioned those. And جمع المذكر السالم, the masculine plural noun. The ya appears to be its sign. And number 3, we have الفتحة. الفتحة, the فتحة being علامة للجر, the sign of the jar, في الاسم الذي لا ينصرف. أيوة, in the noun which does not accept a full change, meaning it doesn't accept the main jar sign, and the main jar sign is ذي كسرة. وهذه الأسماء وعلى أنواع. These nouns particularly, they are of several types. وَلَهَا شُرُوط, and they have shurut, conditions that you have to follow. Right now, I don't want to explain to you what type of nouns they are. I don't even want to give you the conditions because that's a topic on its own. We're not going to look at that right now. We're going to look at these alamat. And I want you to focus on the simplicity of the concept. Understand the concept first, and then when we look at the anwa' and then we look at the shurut in the next lesson, bi'idhnillah al-kareem, that's when you can start exploring further. But for now, just focus on what we have. And something that you'll notice happening every now and then is that جمع المذكر السالم, the masculine plural noun, repeating itself. الأسماء الخمسة, repeating itself. التثنية, repeating itself. جمع المؤنث السالم, repeating itself. جمع التكسير, not المنصرف, forget المنصرف. جمع التكسير, repeating itself. الاسم المفرد, repeating itself. These are types of Arabic words. These are types of Arabic words. I cannot tell you Arabic nouns because there are others which I've left out, and I'm including every one of them, such as الفعل المضارع الذي لم يتصل بآخره شيء أو اتصل بآخره شيء. The فعل المضارع, the present tense noun, which accepts إعراب. It accepts change basically, because there are types of verbs which do not accept change. They are fixed, known as مبنية. These are أفعال مبنية. And the asl of a fi'l, the origin of a verb, is built. It's fixed. It stays in one position, except for the fi'l al-mudari', except for the present tense noun, for the present tense verb. Lakin with nouns, the originality of a noun that is not fixed, is flexible, it accepts change. الأسماء معربة, أصلها معربة. Lakin also there are nouns which are fixed as well. And you will notice them if you come to study those later on down the line. We're not going to look into those now. Otherwise, we're going to cause complexity in your learning. What I want you to understand is the simple concept. If you want further breakdown of the entire concepts which relate to Al-Ājrūmiyyah, this is not the place for it. This is not the place for it. You have to be dedicated in order to learn all of that, inshallah ta'ala. For now, just focus on the simple of the simple signs that we are mentioning so that you have a grasp of the language itself. Now I'm going to come to the whiteboard and show you this. We said that the first sign is al-kasrah. أليس كذلك? The first sign, the first clear sign is al-kasrah. Al-kasrah. And the kasra works for al-ismul mufrad. I'm not going to add anything else. Al-munsarif, no. I don't want to confuse you. Al-ismul mufrad. What do we mean by al-ismul mufrad? The single form noun. أليس كذلك? Such as Muhammad. Such as Muhammad. Such as kitab. Such as matbakh. Such as matbakh. Such as fakiha. فاكهة. Now Muhammad means Muhammad. Kitab means book. Okay. Matbakh means kitchen. Fakiha means fruit. Now, if you say marartu bi Muhammadin. Marartu bi Muhammadin. What does this mean? Marartu bi Muhammadin. I passed by Muhammad. Okay. Muhammadin. We remember this ba, particularly this ba. This ba is a harfu jar, is a harfu jar, is a preposition which causes the noun which follows it to be in a state of jar. Remember, min, ila, an, ala, fi, ba, rubba, huruf al-qasam, al-thalatha, al-waw, al-ba, wal-ta. Remember those? And further of that which we left lam, lam al-ta'lil, wa kay, we left those. Okay? Bi Muhammadin. Okay? And that's one. Kitabun, kitabin. For example, if you have kitabin, min kitab, min kitab, min kitabin. Okay, min kitabin. What is it? From a book. Okay, from a book. Now you notice this. It ended with a clear jar sign, and that is the kasrah. And it doesn't matter whether it's kasrah or kasratain, because they're both the same. When do we not add a kasrah? It's when, for example, the word begins with alif and lam, like this, alif and lam. It doesn't end with a kasrah, or we have compounding nouns. Okay, compounding words. Compounding words are two words put together to form one meaning. For example, Kitabu Muhammad, the book of Muhammad, Muhammad's book. If we say Muhammad's and you stop like that, it doesn't make هذه ليست بمفيدة. It doesn't benefit. It doesn't make it clear. It doesn't stand. So you have to add another word. So what do you say? Kitabi, min kitabi, min kitabillahi, kitabillahi, the book of Allah. Now you notice this isn't a tanween at the end. Now those are things inshallah in the future we're going to learn from the text. For example, in Babul Makhfudat, the chapter of Al-Makhfudat, just for the majrurat, basically the words that stay in a state of jar. If we look into that, that's when you notice, for example, mudaf and mudaf ilayh, the chapter of idafa, as well the topic of idafa is covered there. Compounding words topic is covered there, so we don't have to bother ourselves now. This is just to show you and clarify for you, simplify for you how to know when the tanween appears and when it doesn't appear, inshallah ta'ala, in this case. So this is one. Al-ismul mufrad. Jam'u taksir, if you look over here, we said Jam'u taksir. I don't want to look at al-munsarif. Forget about al-munsarif, although I'm going to wipe this off. It looks a bit odd. Yes. Al-munsarif. Okay. Yeah. Jam'u taksir, the broken plural. Look at the whiteboard. What I want to share with you, the broken plural is, for example, you have masajid. Masajid. You have, for example, maqadir. Maqadir. Maqadir, like this. Okay? Maqadir. Or if you have asabi'. Asabi'. Now, even though we learn this in Al-Ājrūmiyyah Nahu, as we said, you notice that in grammar, in Arabic, grammar, sarf, and the kalimat and balagha and all of that, although some of what they've done today, they've separated adab and balagha. Arabic literature and rhetorics and prosody, they've literally separated that from this. Like if we look at it in that manner, then you notice grammar and sarf and morphology, they're literally intertwined. They're intertwined. They work together like that. So when we mention over here, for example, masajid, maqadir, asabi', this is more or less of a morphology lesson. Like it's provided in grammar to clarify things. So masajid ala wazni mafa'il. Maqadir ala wazni mafa'il. Now these are scales and I don't want to confuse you right now. Just look at asabi', asafir, مثلا asafir. Now, if you have al-masajid, now it will end with a kasrah. Al-maqadir, it will end with a kasrah. Al-asabi', it will end with a kasrah. Al-asafir, it will end with a kasrah. Like when they are standing alone, they would not end with a kasrah. They would not end with a kasrah. when they have alif and lam at the beginning. Now notice the importance. We said about alif and lam over here, denying the tanween at the end, صح? Which we said tanween is fatḥatain, kasratain, dhammatain. Don't forget that. Alif and lam, denying the tanween at the end. Basically, it's wrong to add a tanween when you have alif and lam, except if the alif and lam is original, such as the word iltifat. The word iltifat, this alif and lam belongs to the word. So you can have iltifatun, iltifatin, iltifatan, because it's original to the word. Don't forget that, iltifat. But in this case, we're not talking about iltifat, we're talking about this. Al-masa bil-masajidi, bil-maqadiri, al-asabi'i, al-asafiri. Another reason we said that when we look at مخفوضات, basically al-idafa, sorry, al-idafa, compounding words. Compounding word, we said kitabillahi. This over here, when you have compounding words, what does it do? It takes away the tanween at the end. At the same time, it makes a broken plural noun to end with a kasrah. Not when the broken plural noun is in a state of khafd and at the same time it's alone. Bear this in mind with me. A broken plural noun, I'm going to say it so it can be very clear. A broken plural noun, when it stands alone and it doesn't have alif and lam at the beginning and it's in a state of khafd, then it will end with a fatḥah. Okay, it will end with a fatḥah. Lakin, when it is in a state of idafa, which is going to be in a state of idafa, basically it's part of a compounding word, and at the same time it's in a state of jarr, for example, or if not compounding word, it starts with alif and lam, it makes the broken plural noun to be what? It makes the broken plural noun to end with a kasrah. If it's in a compounding word position, or it has alif and lam at the beginning, it will end with a kasrah. It will become munsarif. Basically, it accepts the change. Like when these two conditions are not there and it's standing alone, then it will end with a fatḥah when it's in a state of khafd, in a state of jar. Bear that in mind. It gets a bit complicated, but I have to clarify this for you so it can be very clear. Now look, let me give you an example of masajid, mosques. Marartu, dakhaltu, or dakhaltu, I entered في مساجد في مساجد. Okay, I entered in mosques, isn't it? I entered in mosques. Look at that. Lakin when I say في مساجد, for example, في مساجد, في مساجد London, في مساجد, في مساجد, let's say I say دخلت في مساجد London. London. Okay, London, like this. What do you end up realizing? The word masajid has to end with a kasrah because it's a compounding word. Or if I say al-masajid, it will be fil masajidi. Now what do you learn? When it has alif and lam at the beginning, it will end with a clear kasrah. Okay? When it's in a state of compounding word, in this case here, it will end with a clear kasrah over here as well. Brilliant. Like when it's standing alone in this case, this one is going to be in a state of fatḥah. I hope that's clear at the moment. Now let's come back to what we have to do, inshallah ta'ala. So we've covered jam'u taksir as well, broken plural now. Jam'u al-mu'annath salim is very clear. It's as simple as saying, look, it's as simple as saying muslimatin, like that, or al-muslimat. But something I want to make very clear for you is this. When you look at the previous class of what we covered, we said that when a feminine plural noun is in a state of nasb, it ends with a kasrah. أليس كذلك? Now you have to be very clear and understand that it has to be very clear to you that is it in a state of jar or in a state of nasb, because in both states it contains a kasra at the end. One kasra can be an original kasra because it's a jar state, but the other one can be a kasra which it has to be that way because it's in a state of nasb and it does not accept a fatḥah as the main sign of the nasb. Does that make sense? Because you can only understand that if you've already studied the previous lesson. Also, I want to mention to you is that grammar is connected. You miss one lesson, you're going to have to go back to it so that you can understand the next. If you literally have left studying grammar and you want to catch up on from where you stopped, my advice is, which is the advice of the ulama of lugha specifically, go back to the beginning so you can catch up with where you are. But it doesn't mean that you have to start again and again on a thorough study. No, you just have to brush through the lesson so that you can trigger your memory and do mudhakara, basically revision, and you remember everything immediately so you can catch up with what you have. Not that you've gone through a lesson thoroughly once. That's not a way to learn, by the way. That's not one of the methods of learning. One of the methods of learning is being efficient. What is that? Is when you do mudhakara, when you literally do revision and you're revising something, you're looking into something which you've already done so before, you go through it quickly so you can catch up with the rest of what you have. Otherwise, if you let go of it for a long time, you forget it. It's as if you have to start again afresh. And if you even know it and then you just go back and look into it thoroughly all the time, that's going to be wastage of time. It's like just studying Al-Ājrūmiyyah and not finishing. You have to read a text, finish it off. That's one of the problems that students of knowledge have today. And not only that, many of us, which is called procrastination. You need to start something, finish it off. Start a book, move on. Even if you are busy with life, come back to it and then carry on, finish it off, inshallah ta'ala. So if you look at the board again, so what do you notice? Why am I literally looking into this a lot? So that it can be very clear to you how these signs work. جمع المؤنث السالم. So you notice the جمع المؤنث السالم, how it works. It's as simple as it is. أليس كذلك? It has to be in a state of jar and then end with a kasra. Okay. The ya is علامة. The ya is the sign of al-jar in التثنية, as الأسماء الخمسة. جمع المذكر السالم. This is very simple. Look at this. We said the تثنية, the مثنى, meaning the dual. أليس كذلك? The dual words is such as Muslimun, Muslimun, and then you say Muslimani, Muslimani, two Muslims. Now when you see it in this state, Muslimani, this is in a state of rafa. Bear that in mind, in a state of rafa. Like when you see Muslimaini, Muslimaini, this could be either one of the two. It could be nasb or jar, the state of jar, any one of these two. So you have to identify what state it's in. Is that very clear? You have to identify what state it's in. And we're going to provide examples, but not here, inshallah ta'ala. In the next lesson, when we look at al-asma' ghayra munsarifah, and then we start looking into, when we finish that, we look into alamatul jazm, the signs of al-jazm, the signs of the sukoon itself. And then once you finish the signs of the sukoon, then that's when before we even go any further, we have to look into, okay, how do you understand jam'u al-taksir? How do you understand jam'u al-mu'annath al-salim? How do you understand jam'u al-mudhakkar al-salim? How do you understand properly al-asma غير المنصرفة أو الجموع التكسير غير المنصرفة? For example, all of those. So you understand these kalimat, because as we go along further, you notice that they keep on repeating again and again, because once you finish this, you enter into Babul Marfu'at, the chapter of Marfu'at, and then you enter the chapter of Mansubat, and then you enter in the chapter of Makhfudat at the same time. And the chapter of Jazm is very short anyways. Like when you understand these three chapters, according to what Ibn Ajurrum provides, you notice that all of these words, they keep on repeating again and again and again and again like that. Every one of those terminologies that you've looked into of the types of words, they keep on repeating every now and then. So you have to be aware of those. But it's a lesson of its own. So those are going to be two lessons. One lesson of al-asma' al-asma' ghayr al-munsarifa, for example. We're going to look into those, which is al-ism al-mufrad or jam'u taksir. And then we're going to look into another lesson of the types of words which have been constantly mentioned in Ibn Ajurrum bi'idhnillah al-kareem, as we break down the text even further, inshallah ta'ala. Let's go back to the notes. So look over here. Jam'u al-mudhakkar al-salim. You notice the difference between it and at-tathniyah is this. Jam'u al-mudhakkar al-salim, you notice muslimaini. It's not muslimaini, it's going to be muslimina. Muslimina. The only way to recognize that, muslimina, the only way to recognize that, you notice this. How to know that this is dual? Because before the ya and the noon, the letter has a fatḥah. The letter has a fatḥah. And then the noon ends with a kasrah. Understood? Muslimaini. That's why we say المفتوح ما قبل الياء والمكسور ما بعد الياء. That which has a fatha before the ya and that which contains a kasra after the ya. And that is the noon. The noon has a kasra at the end and the letter before the ya contains a fatha. لكن for the جمع المذكر السالم المكسور ما قبلها المفتوح ما بعدها. This letter, ya, the letter, this ya here, the letter before it has a kasra and the letter after it has a fatha. So you notice the meme in this case has a kasra before the ya and the noon after the ya has a fatha. Muslimina, muslimaini and muslimina. That's what we have, inshaAllah ta'ala. Naam. Now after that, which I'm going to end with this, bi'idhnillah al-kareem, is as simple as it is. وَالْفَتْحَةُ, and I already mentioned this at the beginning. The fatha is the alama of jar, فِي الْإِسْمِ الَّذِي لَا يَنْصَرِفُ. The fatha is the alama of jar, is the sign of jar in a noun that does not accept the main sign itself at the end. Basically, it doesn't accept change. When you say in la yansarif, it means it does not accept change. If it doesn't accept change, then unfortunately there's nothing we can do about it. And that is, for example, we said al-ismul mufrad, we said that is specifically on al-ismul mufrad, single form noun, and then we have jam'u at-taksir, jam'u at-taksir, broken plural noun, inshaAllah ta'ala. So bi'idhnillah al-kareem, in the next lesson, bi'idhnillah, what we're going to look into is these types of two nouns that do not accept change in what conditions, what type of nouns. That's why we said at the very end, وَهَذِهِ الْأَسْمَاء, and these nouns, عَلَى أَنْوَاع, they are of types and they have their condition, they have shurut at the same time. So once you understand that, it will be very clear for you to know, okay, I shouldn't hurt my head in this lesson, I should only understand these signs that I've covered, and in the next lesson, inshaAllah ta'ala, I'll look into the rest of the other signs, bi'idhnillah al-kareem. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.